I buried my son on a cold Tuesday morning in Seattle. The sky was the color of old steel. Low, heavy clouds pressed down on the cemetery as if the world itself wanted to bow its head. The air smelled like rain and wet earth. I remember staring at the coffin as it lowered into the ground, feeling as though time had slowed into something thick and suffocating. And then there was Vanessa. My daughter-in-law cried louder than anyone else. Her sobs cut through the quiet murmurs of the mourners. She clung to the coffin as though someone might pry it away from her. She screamed Ethan's name like she was the only one who had lost him. But I knew something she didn't. My son, Ethan Whitemore, had changed his will, and he had left everything to me. Everything. Including the $2 million house on the hill, the one Vanessa believed was hers. I didn't say a word that day. Not at the funeral. Not when she collapsed dramatically into the arms of friends. Not when she whispered to guests about her future and what Ethan would have wanted. Because grief reveals character, and I wanted to see who Vanessa truly was. The house sat on a rise overlooking the water. 3 stories of glass and steel, wrapped in balconies and ocean views. Ethan bought it 2 years before the accident. He was proud of that house. He called me the night he signed the papers. "Mom," he said, laughing, "I finally did it. I bought the place." He gave me a tour over video chat, floor-to-ceiling windows, a black grand piano in the living room, a home office overlooking the sea. But I also remember something else he said that night. "Mom, if anything ever happens to me, promise me you won't let Vanessa turn this place into a party palace." I laughed at the time. I thought he was joking. Now I understood. He wasn't. The day after the funeral, I drove to the house. I brought flowers. I thought maybe Vanessa and I could grieve together. She opened the door wearing black silk and red lipstick. Red lipstick. Her eyes weren't swollen from crying. Her hair was perfectly styled. She didn't step aside to let me in. "Margaret," she said coolly, "I need space." "I understand," I replied gently. "I just thought—" "This is my house now," she interrupted. "My house, not ours. Not Ethan's memory. Hers." Then she closed the door in my face. I stood there for a long moment, staring at my reflection in the glass. In my purse was a copy of the will, signed, notarized, filed, legally airtight. Everything belonged to me, and Vanessa didn't know. A week passed, then the phone calls started. First it was Mrs. Dalloway from 2 houses down. "Margaret, I hate to bother you, but there was music last night. Very loud. Around 2 a.m. The next day, Mr. Hargrove called. There were cars parked all over the lawn. Luxury cars. I don't think they were Ethan's friends. By Friday, I had photos. Champagne bottles in the garden. Strangers smoking on the balcony. Someone had tossed a high heel into the koi pond. Vanessa wasn't mourning. She was celebrating. That's when I received a call from Ethan's lawyer, Raymond Collins. "Mrs. Whitemore," he said carefully, "it may be time." "Time for what?" "For you to read the letter." There was a pause. "What letter?" "Ethan left something. Unusual. A private letter. Not addressed to Vanessa." "To me?" "Yes." I drove to his office that afternoon. Inside the envelope was Ethan's handwriting, steady, familiar. My son's voice on paper. "Mom, if Vanessa ever shows you who she really is, don't protect her." That was it. 14 words that felt heavier than the coffin I had just watched disappear into the ground. I didn't understand until Mr. Collins explained the rest. "The property transfer was immediate," he said. "Upon Ethan's death, ownership legally passed to you. Vanessa has no legal claim to the house. She's occupying it without title." "You're telling me," I said slowly, "that I own the house?" "Yes." "And she doesn't." "Correct." Something cold and steady settled in my chest. It was time. I drove to the house on a Saturday evening. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Music shook the windows. Ladders spilled onto the lawn. I walked up the steps and rang the bell. Vanessa opened the door mid-laugh. It died instantly when she saw me. "What do you want?" I stepped inside without invitation. "This party ends tonight." She rolled her eyes. Or what? You'll call Ethan. That's when I handed her the envelope. She smirked at first. Then she read it. Once. Twice. Her hand began to tremble. No, she whispered. This isn't real. It's been filed with the county, I said calmly. You're trespassing in my home. The music stopped. Guests stared. Someone quietly set down a champagne glass. For the first time since my son died, Vanessa looked afraid. Then came the explosion. You manipulated him, she screamed. You poisoned him against me. You stole my future. I let her finish. Then I said the sentence that shattered her composure. Ethan told me about the credit cards. Silence. It spread across the room like frost. Vanessa's face drained of color. Yes. I knew. Months before the accident, Ethan had come to me late one night. He sat at my kitchen table, exhausted. She's in trouble, he had said. Nearly $400,000 in secret debt, designer handbags. Private trips, payments to accounts he didn't recognize. He had refinanced the house once already to cover her spending. That's when he changed the will, I told Vanessa now. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I gave her 7 days to leave. That was generous. She tried everything. Crying, begging, threatening to contest the will. But the documentation was flawless. Witness said notarized, filed properly. Ethan had been methodical. By day 6, the tears were gone. Only rage remained. And rage makes people careless. The night before she was supposed to leave, she threw one final party. But this one wasn't glamorous, it was destructive. She smashed mirrors, ripped curtains from the walls, poured red wine into the grand piano Ethan loved, spray-painted insults across the garage. She wanted to leave scars. What she forgot was this. Ethan had installed security cameras throughout the property. Exterior and interior, cloud-backed, time-stamped, secure. Every act of vandalism, recorded. I didn't argue. I didn't confront her. I simply forwarded the footage to my lawyer. Property damage, intentional destruction, financial fraud inquiry reopened. Vanessa wasn't just losing the house, she was losing everything. The courtroom was quiet the day of the hearing. Vanessa looked smaller, just fear. The judge reviewed the footage carefully, then the financial records, then the will. His ruling was decisive. Full restitution for damages. Legal ownership confirmed. Costs assessed. Vanessa's shoulders slumped. After the hearing, she approached me in the hallway. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She asked weakly. I looked at her carefully. Because I needed to know whether you loved my son, I said softly, or his money. I renovated the house slowly. I repaired the walls, replaced the piano, restored the garden. But I kept Ethan's office exactly the same. His books, his chair, the photo of us on his. Graduation day. I turned the guest wing into a scholarship retreat in his name. A quiet space for young entrepreneurs who needed support the way he once did. His legacy would not be parties. It would be purpose. It would be purpose. As for Vanessa Den, last I heard, she moved into a small apartment across town. Alone. Buried under the debt she created. 6 months passed. Then, one afternoon, I received a letter. No return address. 3 words. I was pregnant. My hands trembled. I checked the dates. The timeline. Hospital records. Travel logs. It didn't align. It couldn't. I had proof Ethan could not have been the father. But she was trying again. Another angle. Another reach for money. I responded with one sentence. DNA test. She refused. And disappeared. That was the last I ever heard from Vanessa. Grief doesn't always come from death. Sometimes it comes from betrayal. I lost my son. But I did not lose his trust. He saw what I couldn't. He protected me. And in the end, the house wasn't worth $2 million. It was worth something far more valuable. The truth. And truth is priceless. If you're watching this as a parent, understand something. Love deeply. Support generously. But do not ignore warning signs. Do not silence your instincts because you're afraid of conflict. And never assume tears equal loyalty. Because sometimes, the loudest cries at a funeral come from the person already calculating their next move. Justice doesn't always shout. It doesn't always arrive in dramatic fashion. Sometimes it waits quietly. It gathers evidence. It lets character reveal itself. And then, when the moment is right, it knocks on the door. And this time, Frood, it owns the house.